Suicide Notes, Day 37. No one ever tells you that when your heart breaks, you can feel it, but you can. It feels like something has crumbled inside you and the pieces are falling into your stomach. It hurts more than any punch ever could. You stop breathing, and for a while, you can't remember how. When you finally do, it feels like your throat is closed up, like you're trying to suck air through a straw. I tried to kill myself because of what happened with Burke. Not with Allie and Burke, me and Burke, during Christmas break. It started, it really started a couple of months before that. I guess you could say I had a crush on Burke. Actually, it's not even a guess. I did have a crush on Burke, big time. When Burke first asked Allie out, I was happy for her. I knew she liked him, and she was so excited when he finally talked to her. Besides, it was just a movie. She even asked me to go along. She said it was so she wouldn't be tempted to do too much with Burke. She'd read in some magazine that guys will be more interested if you play it cool, and that the best way to do this is to go on group dates where you can't exactly climb all over each other without someone giving you a hard time about it. I was her group. The funny thing is, Burke didn't mind. The three of us went to a movie. I don't even remember what it was. Burke sat in the middle. There I was, right next to him, and Allie on his other side. He even shared his popcorn with me. It was like the three of us were on a date, although I didn't think about that then. I just thought it was cool of him. I remember reaching into the popcorn about halfway through the movie. Burke reached in at the same time, and for a few seconds our fingers touched. I don't remember who pulled away first, but I remember feeling this strange sensation. I don't even know what to call it, a tickle maybe, in my stomach. I put my fingers in my mouth and sucked the fake butter off, like I was trying to find out what Burke tasted like. I didn't touch the popcorn for the rest of the movie. After that, Allie started spending more time with Burke. At first, they almost always asked me along. Then one night, Allie went out alone with him. She didn't even tell me she was going, but she called me when she got home. He kissed me, she said. She sounded all excited, like she'd just won $1 million. He did? I asked her, why? What do you mean, why? Asked Allie. She laughed, like it was the dumbest question anyone could ask, because he wanted to. She told me all about it. They went for a walk. Burke bought them ice cream cones. He joked around, getting ice cream on her nose. Then he licked it off, and then he kissed her. I remember exactly what she said. His lips were soft, like a kitten. I thought it was a really weird way to describe someone's lips. At the same time, I knew exactly what she meant. I tried to be excited for her, but the whole time I was telling her how happy I was for her, I was really thinking that I wanted it to be my nose Burke was licking ice cream off, and me kissing his kitten lips. And the more I thought about that, the more scared I got. I think that was the first time I realized that I didn't just like Burke, I had a thing for him. After that, I didn't want to be around Burke and Allie, at least not when they were together. It was too much. Every time I saw Burke, I couldn't stop thinking about how much I liked him. He's got these amazing brown eyes and a killer smile. When he looks at you, you feel like he's really looking at you, if you know what I mean. I wanted him to look at me like that all the time. But of course he was always looking at Allie, and she was always talking about him, to me. And there was absolutely no way I could tell her why I didn't want to hear it. So for a few months I was all crushed out on him and totally miserable. I got jealous every time Allie talked about him or when I saw them holding hands or kissing. Then right before Christmas, the three of us were at this party at Rebecca Miller's house. Her parents were out of town, which means we were drinking a little, or in my case, a lot. I think I had a couple of beers, which really does a number on your head when you're not used to drinking. The weird thing is that I felt happy and sad all at the same time. The more beer I drank and the more I watched Allie and Burke, the more confused I got. I wanted my best friend back, but I also couldn't stop wondering what it would be like for Burke to be as into me as he was into Allie. I'd never thought about another guy like that, or about anybody like that. The truth is, I didn't think about sex all that much, because when I did, it scared me. It wasn't until that night at the party that I knew why it scared me. When I realized what I was feeling, I thought I might be sick, so I went upstairs to the bathroom where no one would hear me. I knelt in front of the toilet and waited for everything to come up. I remember my head was spinning a little. I closed my eyes, but that just made it worse. So I hung over the bowl, staring at the water and feeling my insides churn. I didn't throw up, though, and after a while I felt a little better. I stood up and looked at myself in the mirror. I hated what I saw. I wanted to punch the guy in the mirror in the face. for being such a freak. It was life I wasn't even look it was like I wasn't even looking at myself. I was looking at someone I'd never seen before, someone I didn't want to ever see again. That's when the door opened. I forgot to lock it, and before I could say something, in walked Burke. He looked at me and smiled this big, almost drunk smile. "Hey man," he said, "you done?" I couldn't say anything, so I just nodded. "Cool," he said. "I need to take a major leak." He didn't wait for me to leave. He walked over to the toilet, unzipped, and pulled himself out. I tried not to look, but I couldn't help it. I didn't even care if he saw me looking, but he didn't notice anything. When he was done, he turned around and looked at me while he zipped up. "You look wasted, buddy," he said, grinning again. He was standing right in front of me. Even drunk, he was beautiful. "This party is killer, isn't it?" he said. His breath smelled like beer, but I didn't care. "Yeah," I said, "killer." I wanted to get out of that bathroom, but I couldn't leave. My feet wouldn't move. "Hey," said Burke, "there's something I want to ask you." My heart did this weird flip-flop thing when he said that. For a second, just a split second, I had this idea that he was going to ask me out. I don't know why, but I imagined him asking me to go to a movie or something. And the thing is, at that moment, I really wanted him to. I remembered the popcorn and his fingers, and the tingling feeling hit me again. "What?" I said, barely able to get the word out. Burke looked all serious for a second. "It's about Allie," he said. He sounded nervous, which wasn't like him at all. Burke doesn't get nervous. He's always cool. Then I got even more nervous because I was imagining all kinds of things he could say next. Burke looked right into my eyes. Everything stopped while I waited for him to ask me his question. Then he said, "What should I get her for Christmas?" It took me a few seconds to understand what he'd said. When it finally registered, I was surprised at how sad I was, but I couldn't let him know that. I had to think of something to say. She likes clothes," I said. Burke shook his head. "I'm no good at picking out that shit," he told me. "I can go with you," I said before I knew it. "We can pick something out together." As soon as I said it, I felt like a moron. What kind of guy tells another guy he'll go shopping with him? But all I could think about right then was how much I wanted to do something with Burke. Anything. Even shop for his girlfriend's Christmas present. That's how I was thinking of Allie, as his girlfriend, not my best friend. Burke laughed. "Cool," he said, like it was the most normal thing in the world. "Cool." Then he patted my arm. "You're a cool guy," he said. My heart was racing so fast I thought I might be having a heart attack. And then I did it. I couldn't stop myself. Burke was touching my arm. We'd just made a kind of date, and I was suddenly happier than I'd ever been in my whole life. Before I even knew what I was doing, I leaned forward and kissed him right on the mouth. I remember thinking, for the few seconds our lips were touching, that Allie had been right. His lips were soft as a kitten. He pushed me away, but not hard. "Hey there," he said, kind of laughing. "Don't get all gay on me. It's not like I asked you out or anything." He laughed again. I didn't say anything. I've never been so scared in my life. Not because of what I thought he might do, but because of what I'd done. I tried to think of something to say to him to make it all go away, something to explain why I'd kissed him, but I knew there was nothing that would erase that kiss. I guess Burke saw that I wasn't laughing with him. He stopped laughing, and his eyebrows wrinkled up like he had realized he'd been tricked. "What's up?" he asked. He stared into my eyes for a few seconds. "Wait," he said, then pulling back and looking at me as if he'd never seen me before. "Are you a fag?" Now, I'd been called a fag before, but not in the way Burke meant it. Sometimes guys just say that, like you're such a fag, meaning you're doing something lame. Burke meant something else, though. Suddenly, that word was the most dangerous word in the English language. I tried to answer him. I really like you," I said. Burke stepped back. "Holy shit," he said. He had this look on his face that terrified me. "Holy shit," he said again. "Burke," I said, reaching out to him. "Burke, don't." He put his hands up, blocking me from getting any nearer. He shook his head. "You are a fag," he said. He pushed past me and left the bathroom. A few seconds later, everything in my stomach came up. I puked all over the floor and all over myself. It felt like I was throwing up my heart. I was crying and couldn't breathe, and I wanted to be dead. I cleaned up the mess on the floor with some towels, but my clothes were still all dirty. I just wanted to get out of there. That's when I remembered that to get out, I would have to go downstairs and through the party. Allie would be there, and I knew that by now Burke told her about what happened. What I was. I couldn't face her. I thought about going out the window, but I was still feeling like crap, and I was afraid I'd fall and make things even worse. Finally, I went into the hall. I stood at the top of the stairs, listening to the people laughing below me. I imagined they were laughing at me, that Burke had told them all about how I'd kissed him, about how I was a fag, and that they thought it was the funniest thing they'd ever heard. I just knew they were all waiting for the big fag to appear so they could make fun of me. There was nothing else to do. I went down those stairs as quickly as I could and went straight for the door. I didn't look at anyone, and prayed no one would stop me. And they didn't. That's the only good thing that happened that night. No one stopped me. I made it to the door and out of the house, and then I ran home and up my room. I haven't seen Allie since then. I've talked to her, though. When I didn't hear from her for 3 days, I knew that Burke had told her on Christmas Eve. When I couldn't take it anymore, I called her. When she answered, I said, "I just want to say Merry Christmas." She didn't say anything for a while. I could hear her breathing. Then she said, "Why didn't you tell me you're gay?" "I'm not," I said. "Allie, you have to believe me." "I thought we were friends," she said, and hung up. That's the last thing she ever said to me. So now you know the whole story about why I got all dramatic on New Year's Eve and why I'm here. I'm gay. I know it sounds stupid. Tons of people are gay, and you'd think it would be no big deal. But I was really hoping I wasn't. That it was all just a big mix-up and I'd get over it. After the stuff with Rankin and what happened or didn't happen, with Sadie, though, I know that I won't get over it. It's what I am. I read once that a third of all gay kids try to kill themselves. They say it's because being gay is so hard in this world. They say that we won't stop trying to kill ourselves until more people understand us, and until we live in a world where it's okay for a guy to love another guy. That's probably true, but there will never be a world where it's okay to fall in love with your best friend's boyfriend.